Most people go to live shows expecting music, laughter, or excitement. But sometimes the stage becomes the scene of something much darker. In this video, we're going to look at 5 more real stories where the performance didn't end with applause, but with death. These aren't urban legends or rumors. These are real performers who took their final breath in front of a live audience. What happened wasn't part of the act. It was February 20th, 2003, in West Warwick, Rhode Island. A rock band called Great White, touring under the name Jack Russell's Great White, was about to perform at the station, a small nightclub filled with around 460 people. Fans were excited to see a band once known for hits like Once Bitten, Twice Shy. The night began with their song Desert Moon. Their setup was tight, with the stage surrounded by foam on the walls and ceiling meant for soundproofing. But this foam was not built to handle heat. The band's tour manager, Daniel Beekle, had brought along pyrotechnics called gerbs, devices that shoot out sparks during performances. As the music started, sparks exploded behind the band. Within seconds, the foam caught fire. It was highly flammable. At first, the crowd thought it was part of the show, but when thick black smoke started pouring out and flames spread, panic set in. The fire moved fast. Within 1 minute, the stage was completely engulfed. People rushed to escape, but exits were limited. 2 doors were chained shut. A security guard initially blocked the stage exit, not realizing the danger. This created a jam at the main entrance. People pushed forward, fell, and became trapped. Smoke filled the space, flames spread to the ceiling, and parts of the building began to collapse. Inside, it was chaos. Some people were burned, some were overcome by smoke, and others were knocked down. One of those who didn't make it out was Ty Longley, the 31-year-old guitarist. Reports said he escaped but returned, possibly to get his guitar or help someone. He didn't come back out. Ty was the only band member who lost his life, but he was one of 100 people who died that night. About 230 more were hurt, many with burns or breathing problems. The fire became one of the worst nightclub tragedies in the history of the United States. Soon after, questions followed. The foam used in the club was not approved under local safety laws. The pyrotechnics had not been cleared. The band said they thought the club knew. The club said they didn't. Daniel Beekle later pleaded guilty to using the effects without permission. One club co-owner also accepted responsibility. Both served time. Civil cases followed. Victims' families sued the band, the club, and other groups tied to the event. In 2008, the band settled for $1 million. Clear Channel Broadcasting paid $22 million. The tragedy broke the Great White. Ty's death hit them hard. Jack Russell, the lead singer, said he struggled with guilt and questioned why he survived. He almost quit music, but messages from fans encouraged him to keep going. He began performing to raise money for the victims. They raised $27,000. In 2013, he offered another donation to a memorial group, but it was declined. Many survivors and families blamed him and believed he should have faced charges. Over the years, Russell dealt with health problems and was later diagnosed with serious neurological conditions. In early 2024, he announced he was retiring from touring. He passed away soon after at age 63, surrounded by his wife and son. Great White kept performing with new members, but the fire never left their story. Guitarist Mark Kendall, also there that night, said he once thought he'd never play again. Therapy and conversations with survivors helped him move forward. One survivor, Victoria Potvin Egan, escaped the fire but lost friends. She co-founded 2 organizations to help victims and build a memorial of 100 wooden crosses at the site. Egan said opinions on the band remain mixed. She sometimes attended shows but always stood near the exit. By 2003, the band lineup had changed. Russell was touring with new members, and Kendall admitted he didn't even know all the musicians on stage that night. Still, Kendall continued to perform. One survivor, Linda Fisher, even joined them on stage years later during a cruise concert. She showed her burn scars and sang, bringing many in the crowd to tears. But the memory of that night never went away. A video recorded during the fire shows people cheering one moment and screaming the next. Just 90 seconds into the performance, smoke filled the air and people became trapped. The footage cut off in darkness. That night changed everything for the band, the survivors, and the families who lost someone. Ty Longley never made it out, and the name Great White would never be remembered the same way again. It was the evening of April 1st, 1958, in Takarazuka, Japan. The theater was packed for a performance of Spring Dances, The Children in the Flowers, a show by the well-known all-female Takarazuka Revue. This was the troupe's 4th time staging this play, but by the end of Act 12, something tragic would happen. One of the performers would lose her life on stage in front of hundreds of people. Hiromi Katsuki was just 21 years old. She wasn't originally scheduled to perform that night. The lead actress for the role of the Seven of Hearts, Yuri Hinatsu, had fallen ill the day before. Hiromi, her understudy, was asked to take her place. She had already performed the part 3 times without any problems. This was her 4th. Hiromi's character was in love with the Six of Hearts, played by Minako Matsushima. Their scenes were some of the most emotional parts of the show. As Act 12 ended, the two characters embraced, just as they always did. At that moment, the floor beneath them started to slowly lower. This platform allowed actors to exit quickly and prepare for the next scene. Minako, dressed in a leotard for easy movement, stepped off the platform, but she suddenly heard a scream, followed by a loud, crushing sound. She turned around and saw something horrifying. Hiromi hadn't jumped off in time. Her long costume had become trapped in the gears of the moving platform. The machine pulled her down with force. The mechanical parts caused serious injuries. Hiromi's body was caught and badly damaged. Minako rushed back to help, but it was already too late. Hiromi wasn't moving. Her costume had soaked up most of the blood, making the extent of her injuries hard to see. In shock, Minako called for help. The show stopped immediately, but the audience wasn't told what had happened. There was no announcement, just a quick curtain close. People were left confused. Backstage, it was clear. A performer had died during the show. An investigation followed. Several things may have contributed to the accident: the speed of the platform, the design of Hiromi's dress, and how tightly it was secured to her. All of these made it nearly impossible for her to escape once caught. Investigators also pointed to the platform operator, suggesting they may not have noticed the problem in time. Police were involved. The head of the local department mentioned that the company might face legal action. Rumors spread about a possible fine of 50,000 yen, but nothing was confirmed. Just one day later, on April 2nd, the play resumed. New safety measures were added. Equipment handling was changed, but the company never publicly addressed Hiromi's death. She was quietly buried 2 days later with no public funeral or announcement. A small stone memorial was placed outside the Takarazuka Music School, where she had trained. It's still there today, easy to overlook. Hiromi had trained for 2 years before joining the troupe. The Takarazuka Revue, founded in 1913, is known for strict rules and dramatic shows. Women play all roles, male and female. Hiromi had worked hard to get on that stage, but her life ended during what should have been a normal performance. In 2023, a Cosmos troupe performer died amid reports of overwork and mistreatment, having worked over 437 hours in a month. Initially denied by officials, the issues were later acknowledged, leading to the chairman's resignation and promised reforms. A settlement with the family remains pending. Former members have come forward since, speaking about a harsh, exhausting environment behind the curtain. Hiromi Katsuki didn't die because of mistreatment, but because something went wrong with the system that night. She followed every rule. She did what she was told. The company rarely speaks of her, but her story hasn't been forgotten. It was July 6, 2013, in Campinas, Sao Paulo, Brazil. A 20-year-old performer named Daniel Pellegrin, known as MC Deleste, was preparing to take the stage at a free outdoor concert. Deleste was a rising name in Brazil's funk music scene, especially in the ostentacao style, which focused on life in the favelas, wealth, and fashion. Over 4,000 people had gathered to see him perform. His shows were known for their energy and connection with fans from poorer communities. Not long after starting his set, things took a shocking turn. While speaking critically about the police, Deleste was shot. 2 bullets were fired. One grazed his side and the other struck him in the abdomen. He collapsed as the crowd began to panic. Several fans caught the moment on video. The footage quickly spread online, showing Deleste falling back while people rushed to help. He was taken to a nearby hospital, but by 12:55 a.m. on July 7th, he was pronounced dead. The incident deeply unsettled Brazil. Deleste was the 7th funk MC to lose his life since 2010. None of the earlier cases had been solved. Authorities launched an investigation led by homicide detective Rui Pegolo. He confirmed that the shots came from about 20 to 30 meters away and were fired with skill, pointing to someone with training. The bullets matched a .40 caliber weapon, standard issue for Brazil's military police. This detail raised difficult questions. Could someone in law enforcement be involved? One of Deleste's friends shared a video online claiming that earlier that day, Deleste had been stopped by officers in uniform. According to him, they questioned Deleste about his car and his money and allegedly asked for cash. Deleste refused. The friend believed those same officers came back later and shot him. This theory matched growing concerns that vigilante groups, known in Brazil as Grupos de Exterminio or militia, were targeting funk MCs. These groups are often made up of former or current military police officers. Journalist Marcelo Rezende described them as groups that left the police to profit from criminal activity, often with help from insiders still in law enforcement. Deleste's music often spoke about favela life and challenged authority, though he later shifted to themes of love, success, and fashion. Despite earning over $90,000 monthly, he remained in his Sao Paulo favela. His father, Roland Pellegrin, said Deleste had no known enemies and suspected jealousy was involved. But other families believed these deaths were part of something more organized. Felipe da Silva Cruz, whose son MC Boladao was also killed, said he believed vigilante groups were responsible. He survived 4 attacks himself and now lives in hiding. He believes the people behind these killings are trained, well-connected, and protected. There were other cases too. In 2011, MC Duda Marape was killed, and bullet casings from a .40 caliber weapon were found. In 2012, 3 officers were arrested in the case of MC Primo's death, but were later released. MC Careca also reportedly received threats and was later found dead. In 2012, MC Naguinho Caxeta survived an attack after being shot 4 times. These repeated incidents and the weapons used suggested a troubling pattern. Funk music, especially the band Proibidao style, had long caused tension between artists and law enforcement. While critics claimed it promoted crime, artists argued they were just describing their reality. In a recent survey, 6 out of 10 officers admitted to ignoring corruption within their ranks. A month before Deleste's death, 7 officers were arrested for working with traffickers, reportedly earning up to $130,000 a year. After Deleste's death, tributes poured in. Over 100,000 people left messages online. Fellow artists expressed fear. One said MCs may soon need to perform with a microphone in one hand and protection in the other. Deleste's case remains unsolved. Investigators have gathered over 100 videos and statements, but no arrests have been made. For now, the truth about what happened that night is still unknown. But for many in Brazil's funk community, the danger feels all too real and far from over. It was October 8, 1970, at Dongtan Beach in Jomtien, South Pattaya, Thailand. Mitra Chaibancha, one of the biggest movie stars in the country, was filming the final scene of Insi Thong, a movie he was producing and starring in. In the final scene, his character, a masked vigilante named Insi Dang, was supposed to grab a rope ladder hanging from a helicopter and fly into the sky. But what happened instead would leave the nation in shock. Mitra was born on January 28, 1934 in Phetchaburi, Thailand. His birth name was Piche Pumhem, and he came from a poor background. A monk gave him the nickname Bunting, which meant abandoned by destiny. His parents separated when he was a baby. His mother moved to Bangkok and later worked as a greengrocer. At 8, Mitra moved to Bangkok with his mother and trained in Muay Thai, winning multiple school championships. After high school, he attended Pranakon College and trained as a pilot at the Royal Thai Air Force, later becoming a flight instructor. His career path changed in 1956 when a friend showed his photo to a journalist, who then introduced him to a movie magazine editor. Soon after, he got his first acting role in Chart Swaya, or Tiger Instinct, and changed his name to Mitra Chaibancha. He became well known for playing Rom Ritikrai, a character from the Insi Dang novel series in the film Chow Naklang, or Gangster Lord. In 1959, Mitra married Jarawan, and they had a son named Yuthana in 1961. The couple later divorced. That same year, Mitra starred in Love Diary of Pimchawi with Pechara Chawarat. Together, they became the most iconic duo in Thai cinema, acting in around 165 films. Mitra worked constantly, often appearing in nearly half of the 75 to 100 Thai films made each year in the 1960s. He would jump from set to set, getting only a few hours of sleep per night. His 1970 film Manrak Luk Thung played in Bangkok for 6 months and earned over 6 million baht. That same year, Mitra began working on Insi Thong. He was not only the star, but also the producer and director. By October, the film was nearly complete. The final scene involved his character flying away by grabbing onto a rope ladder from a helicopter. The plan was to shoot the stunt in 2 parts, one low-altitude scene with Mitra, and another higher-altitude one using a stunt double. But that second shot never happened. As the camera rolled, Mitra grabbed the lowest rung of the ladder. The helicopter pilot, unaware of the risk, began to rise. Mitra tried to hold on but couldn't climb. The ladder swayed as the helicopter flew higher, and seconds later, Mitra lost his grip. He fell nearly 300 feet and didn't survive the impact. The entire accident was caught on film. Shockingly, the original version of Insi Thong included the real footage of Mitra's fall. It wasn't removed until 2005, when the digital versatile disc version replaced it with tribute shots. That night, Mitra's body was taken to Wat Kai Nang Loeng Temple in Bangkok. Thousands of people gathered, many asking to see him one last time. His body stayed at the temple for 100 days before being cremated at Wat Debsirindrawas Ratchawarawihan, with tens of thousands in attendance. From 1956 to 1970, Mitra acted in over 260 films. Many were shot on 16mm film, which had no sound. so his real voice was rarely heard. Musical scenes were filmed in 35mm and are now preserved by the Thai Film Archive. Today, there's a small shrine honoring Mitter near the Jomtien Palm Beach Hotel. Visitors still come to pay respects. In 2023, Netflix released Monrak Nak Pak, or Once Upon a Star, a film about outdoor Thai cinema that includes a subtle tribute to Mitter. Even decades later, Mitter's legacy continues, but for many, his last scene, reaching for a ladder and disappearing into the sky, remains unforgettable. It was October 9, 2021 at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow, Russia. The stage was prepared for Sadko, a 19th century opera known for its large sets and complex scene changes. The audience filled the hall, waiting for the show to begin. Among the cast that night was 37-year-old Yevgeny Kulesh, an experienced actor who had been performing at the Bolshoi since 2002. He was a respected member of the company and well known to his colleagues. Yevgeny had been with the Bolshoi for nearly 2 decades. He was reliable, consistent, and loved performing. But nothing could have prepared him, or anyone, for what happened that evening. The show started normally. The orchestra played, actors moved through the opening scenes, and the audience followed along. Then came the first big scene change. Huge mechanical structures began shifting, lowering props from above to prepare the stage for the next act. One of these props was a large, heavy backdrop. During this transition, something went terribly wrong. Yevgeny moved in the wrong direction, right into the path of the descending backdrop. It was too late for him to step away. The structure came down fast and trapped him underneath. At first, no one realized what had just happened. The music continued and many actors stayed in character. The audience believed it was part of the performance. Then everything stopped. A man on stage noticed what had happened and began shouting for someone to stop and call an ambulance because someone had been hit. The mood in the theater shifted instantly. Crew members rushed in. Some tried lifting the set piece, while others yelled for medical help. But by the time emergency workers arrived, it was already too late. Yevgeny had died from his injuries. A video from that night later appeared online. It showed the moment the set came down. There was no warning, just a quick movement, and then panic. One performer began gesturing frantically. The music stopped, the curtain dropped, and the audience was asked to leave. Many were still confused, unsure whether what they saw was real or part of the show. Only after stepping outside did some people learn the truth. One audience member wrote online that she thought it had all been part of the play, until security told her what had happened. The Bolshoi Theater released a short statement afterward, saying that the performance was immediately stopped and the audience was asked to leave the hall. Reports from Russian investigators confirmed Yevgeny had been struck and crushed by the falling set. While some described it as a ramp and others as a backdrop, both accounts agreed it was large, heavy, and dangerous. Sadly, this wasn't the first tragic incident at the Bolshoi. In 2013, longtime violinist Viktor Sedov died after falling into the orchestra pit. In 2011, former principal dancer Pavel Dmitrichenko was sentenced to 6 years in prison for organizing an attack on the theater's artistic director. These past events had already raised concerns about working conditions backstage. Yevgeny's death only added to those fears. One of the loudest voices speaking out was Nikolai Tsiskardze, a former Bolshoi dancer. He told a Russian newspaper that backstage conditions were terrible, explaining that dancers get hurt when sets collapse. He added that he had been raising concerns for 25 years, highlighting the lack of order, medical help, and proper treatment. He also insisted Yevgeny was not to blame. The Russian investigative committee opened a case to look into the incident. Authorities reviewed video footage, spoke with witnesses, and began examining the theater's safety procedures. Fellow performers defended Yevgeny, saying he was skilled and responsible. Many believed this could have happened to anyone in the same situation. Concerns also grew about whether staff received enough training to safely move around backstage. While the final investigation results haven't been made public, one thing is certain: Yevgeny Kulesh lost his life during a show he had devoted years to. The curtain fell that night, but the questions surrounding safety at the Bolshoi are still unanswered.